All right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Craig Blanchette, and it's my pleasure to host tonight's webinar. Tonight we're going to be talking, it's week number 6 in our 6-week challenge, the New You Healthy Games Challenge. And so tonight we're going to be talking about stress management. And I wanted to also just introduce myself. I've been here every week with my co-host David Bush, and this week actually David is heading off to Pennsylvania, and then he's going to rendezvous with a bunch of the rest other health coaches, myself included, in Baltimore, Maryland for a advanced health coach training event that we're going to be doing with Dr. A and a bunch of other folks. So that's really exciting. It's called Go Global. So that's what we're going to be at this weekend. So he's out doing that, and I'm taking over tonight. I want to start off with basically a little bit of a survey here. We're going to be talking about basically a scorecard. So Carrie, if you'll go ahead and launch the survey, take a minute and go ahead and vote there. Don't be kinder than necessary just because you like us, right? We really want to grow, and so if, tell us what you really thought about things, and we'll give it about 45 seconds here, and then we will. How many people have voted so far, Carrie?
20.
20. Okay, so grab your mouse and jump back to your computer. We got about 200 of us in here, and we want to make sure that everybody gives us a good idea of how we're doing and how they thought this challenge was, maybe compared to other challenges that you've been in. All right, how many now?
We're at 130, 140. So.
Okay, we're getting there. All right, so we're going to 10 more seconds. Go ahead and quickly finish up your vote. And you can go ahead and stop that poll and then share the results with us. So it looks like we had 88% thought the daily readings were really good. The webinars and the new Huddle were probably, those are the top 3. And it looks like we got probably a tie. Probably say this is maybe an A-. So we want to thank the folks at Meltdown Challenge for all the stuff that they're providing, this vehicle for us to be able to learn and have a good time as we're becoming healthier. So the highlight this week, the healthy tip of the week, is we have 75 points available for you to post a pic, a before and after, and there's some details there, before and after picture, or just the after picture if you didn't have weight to lose, and then post that on your Facebook status or other social media platforms, and then make sure you hashtag it, and you'll get the 75 points for doing that. So those are the details in there. You can also see those details in at the very first week. You all had an opportunity to earn 25 points for reading the rules, and so some of us actually read them, and some of us just read that we were going to read them, and maybe we didn't. But either way, you can go to the rules and you can see all about how the prizes, how the money is spent, how the different challenges each week, and all the details are in the rules section. So we have that set aside for you. And so next up, we had a big event last weekend with Dr. A. We had over 1,000 people that showed up. And so go ahead and launch that next poll, Carrie. By the way, we're going to introduce Carrie a little bit pretty quick here, but she's my assistant today, filling in for Mr. Bush. And so jump on there, and if you attended it live, or if you watched it via video, or maybe you didn't attend it at all, we do have access to the recording, and it was a great event. I had a lot of questions, very candid answers from Dr. A, and it was one of our most successful events ever. How we doing on the voting? Pretty close?
Yeah, 160. So.
Okay, all right. So give it about 10 more seconds. Go ahead and cast your vote there, folks. And all right. So let's see. Go share the results of this. All right. So most of you attended live. Well, I hope that was beneficial to you. You know, we can provide all these different ways of learning, and sometimes it's hard to get to all of them. So get to the ones you can and learn as much as you can. So next up, I want to introduce my co-host tonight, Carrie. I've been working with her for a couple of years now. And so I wanted to showcase her today and tell a little bit about her story, how she got involved, and how she's kind of grown healthier through the challenge. I think actually, Carrie, you were part. I think you did one of the very first
The
challenges.
very, very first one with the spreadsheets. There wasn't even a computer.
So this is before we had access or knew about Meltdown Challenge and started partnering up with them. We were kind of doing homegrown challenges, and things have come a long way since then. But tell us a little bit about your kind of how you got involved and how things progressed, where you started, where you're at now.
Yeah, I started in January in 2014, so that's how long it's been. And I was just doing that, and I really just started to just be more healthy. I wasn't really in it for the weight loss and all that. And then I talked to Craig and was part of the huddles, and then a few months later, I bought the books, and it was just a easygoing type of thing. And then steadily losing weight, but not too much. And then a few months after that, I got fully into the program with the food and all that because, I was really motivated by the brownies and the chocolate chip pancakes. But yeah, and then that was when it really started to kick off, and I lost and half the time I lost the same amount of weight as the first half is how that worked. And I've lost like 65 pounds total. But then after the weight loss was great, obviously, but for me, the biggest thing was that I got so much self-confidence and so much more, able to do so much, and was able to dream pretty much again and all that. And so I finally got my driver's license after 10 years of trying to get that. And Craig often tells the story of how the first week after, I didn't have any progress because I was driving the whole time.
Yeah. I'm like, what did you study this week? Nothing. What were you doing? Driving.
I was driving.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that just changed everything around. And yeah, I'm never, going to go back to what it was like before, which was.
Well, and it's interesting, even though, initially well, actually, I don't think you were ever really focused just on weight. You just kind of wanted to just explore what was going on, but it's nice to see that the optimal health program and working with the habits of health and the challenges and all of the way our system is designed wasn't just physical health, that it spilled over into all those other areas, even the confidence to get your driver's license and then, drive and just all those things that you started dreaming again. Is there anything else or any other like takeaways you might give somebody?
Yeah, I was, I probably wouldn't have, continued after the first month if I didn't have all the support and everything on that. Cause I've done other programs and it was more focused on all the weight loss and everything. But Craig has been my coach now for 2 years or, year and a half, 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's, you don't get that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's much more. Well, and again, I'm still on my health journey. And so as I work with you as your coach, I'm still learning too. And so anyway, I just want to say thanks for sharing your story with tonight. Thanks for being my co-host as well. And it's just so exciting to see you on these huddles and all these things, and just to see how sure you've shrank in size, but you've also grown in your ability to dream and really reach out to the things that you find interest you. So thanks for sharing your story with us tonight. Yeah. Let's see here. So we're going to jump into, we actually have another poll, and this kind of relates to some of the things that Carrie and I were just talking about. So go ahead and launch the poll. This poll says, if I'm being 100% frank and honest, my strategy for long-term health and weight loss is, And your options are carefully thought through and working based on random stuff, and I'm seeing some progress, or mostly based on exercising more and eating less, or I'm winging it and my middle name should be changed to Yo-Yo. And so let's give that about 45 seconds here. And really, we're just trying to figure out in this poll that if you're not getting what you want and you keep doing the same thing you've always done, there's probably a correlation there. Either what you think is healthy isn't, or you just aren't sticking with it long enough. One is one of the two. If you think about, you're on the way to the airport, right? Or you're on the way to some destination and you don't seem to be getting there. Well, either you're on the wrong road or it's farther than you thought, one of the two. And so go ahead and share those results with us. And yeah, excellent. You carefully thought through and it's working. So 64% of the folks, and then 23% is mostly based on exercising more and eating less. And Dr. A actually talked a little bit about there's a physiological upside and downside to exercising more and eating less. And there's a psychological upside and downside. And what we find out is the adage of eating less and exercising more ends up not being very successful at all. And so you may consider connecting with a health coach and talking through your strategy and seeing if there's some tweaks or some things that you can do to help you actually get to where you want to go, and then learn to live there, actually. That brings me to we have 5 surveys. This will be the final one here, and then we have one that'll be towards the end. But I want to actually go ahead and launch the poll. Excellent. So this is going to be introducing our topic tonight, which is discussing our stress levels. So overall stress, and then what are the top 2 areas of high stress in our lives. So we're getting lots of data from you tonight, folks. So thanks so much for participating in all these polls.
On the 1 to 5, is 5 high stress and 1 low stress?
That is an excellent question, Kevin. Yes, that's exactly what it is. 5 is high and 1 would be low. Yep. So go ahead and make sure you guys vote quickly there. And
only half of the people have voted.
Okay. So. All right. So you heard Carrie. You got to get on it, folks. So jump back and just quickly vote in on there. And this is going to help Kevin also as he's talking through his topic tonight. I'm going to give it 5 more seconds, then we'll close that poll down. All right. So the results are, it looks like people are around a 3, 34%, whereas at a 3. And it looks like emotional and financial, actually emotional, mental, and financial were the 3 top categories, with emotional taking it at 48%. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Carrie. You can go ahead and close that up. And so I want to introduce our guest tonight. His name is Kevin McCarthy. Kevin is an author. He's written a couple of books, The On Purpose Person and The On Purpose Business Person. Kevin has actually been a keynote speaker at many of our health coach training events. That's where I heard about him for the very first time, was at one of the Go Global events that we did. And Kevin is also a certified health coach. He and his wife both coach together. And believe it or not, Kevin is the person that got David Bush involved as a health coach as well. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's correct. So it's my pleasure to bring on Kevin. So welcome to our huddle tonight, Kevin.
Well, thanks, Craig. It's great to be with you and Carrie, and thanks for having me on here. It's just so great to be with so many people that are interested in getting to a healthier place in their life. And there's a great picture of us from Washington, D.C. a number of years ago. Yep. And of course, there I am in what I call my fat boy suit. This was 8 years ago. Actually, yeah, it was actually 8 or 9 years ago whenever this picture was taken. And it's the picture that woke me up, that made me realize that I'd become a fat guy. I've been an athlete all my life. And I looked at this and I went, oh my gosh, I don't even recognize myself. Part of my story was whenever I got involved, Dr. Anderson had called me up and said, I've read your books and would love to have you be a keynote speaker at our event, at our national convention. At the time, I looked like this, and I basically said to him after I got the contract signed, go ahead, I'd like to get some of your program and understand what's going on. And for me, I lost 50 pounds in 3 months on the program, and I showed up on stage. It doesn't show on the screen right here, but basically I showed up on stage 3 months later looking a whole lot leaner and trimmer than I did whenever I started the program. So for me, the program has really changed my life in a major way. I've always been fortunate. I've always had a fair degree of amount of confidence. I've always had been pretty strategic about life and have been pretty successful in the whole scheme of things. But in the area of health, I was struggling. And one of the things interesting that everybody said, emotional stress is what gets to them. I realized that I'd been an emotional eater. So it was actually a really good thing for me to be able to identify that, because if you'd asked me ahead of time, was I an emotional eater, I would have said no. But I do have a lot of stressful things going on. I'm a business owner, have been for 30 years, family, caring for parents, so on and so forth. So I have had a lot of those stress issues on there. Now, in that sense, what I want to do is maybe talk a little bit about what it means to be on purpose. And just basically what I found is whenever you're talking about being on purpose, the concept is really very simple. It is that if you know who you are, why you're here, where you want to go, how you want to get there, and what's important along the way, you're really able to create the alignment. So at some level, the idea of purpose is one of saying, why am I here, and answering that question. Once you have that question and some of these other questions answered, you're now able to create the strategies and structures to align your life and integrate your life around your purpose. Therefore, you're on your purpose rather than off your purpose. So what happens then is some of the benefits of this is, what if I could extend my life expectancy by 7 years? If I could have a stronger immune system, lower my blood pressure, lower my risk of heart attack, heal faster, live longer, improve my well-being by 42.8%, and make better decisions for the rest of my life. Now, that sounds like a lot of hype and that there's a lot of promises in there, but in fact, as you look at the next slide here, what it shows is that this is not me saying this. This is from this particular quote is from Dan Buettner, who's the author of a book called The Blue Zones, and it says, knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. And then he talks about these indigenous people that live to be 100 years or more. And basically it says it translates into why I wake up in the morning. And that's just a sense of your purpose. It is not knowing your purpose. So in many ways, I describe this as purpose light. When you're able to get to the next slide, which talks about when you're looking at it, it says, people who feel their life is part of a larger plan and are guided by their spiritual values have stronger immune systems, lower blood pressure, and a lower risk of heart attack and cancer, and heal faster and live longer. This is a quote from Harold Koenig, MD, who's a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Duke University. So what I want you to see is this common thread is that we have these stresses that are there, but a lot of times we self-inflict stress on ourselves. And one of the ways that we do that is when we start to look at, the body and the strategy of what's going on. So in the next slide, what you'll see is, and my slides are being a little bit cut off, so I apologize for that. But this is a little guy, I call him the On Purpose Pal. And what I found is most of us who are trying to lead our lives are confused at a deep level, that we might know why we're here or have a sense of it. Maybe we think it's being a parent or being working a job or something like that. These are maybe reasons to get up in the mornings, but they're not our purpose. So this little guy is to help you understand the difference between purpose, vision, mission, and values. So purpose is a matter of the heart. It's about who we are being. Vision is in our mind's eye, and that's sort of where we're going. So where purpose answers, why am I here? Vision is answering this, where am I going with my life? And to articulate that, you can do these things. Then you look at your missions. How are you going to get there? Craig, for instance, David Bush, they've chosen to be health coaches in their vocational area of life. My wife and I do health coaching. Now, I also am I'm a business consultant and have been for 30 years. So I have a business around that as well. That's an area of expression for me of my purpose. Values are in our throat and in our gut. They're the way that we're choosing, so that when your heart, your head, and your hands are aligned within your values in your throat and your gut, you're on your purpose. It's a high standard to meet, but if you don't do it, you're left to chance. And so what I found is a lot of stress is put on us because it's self-imposed, because we basically haven't answered these 5 questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? How will I get there? And what's important? You can literally write those questions out and just create answers, just one sheet of paper, and answer those questions, and you're well on your way to being on purpose. Now, one of the things I do with people is I try to help them get to an even deeper level, which is to say, how do you, people always say, Kevin, how do I write a purpose statement? And for me, purpose statements come down to 2 words. And again, most of you are probably thinking of a purpose as something you do rather than who you are innately and inherently being. So I write purpose statements with this generic beginning to help you get started. I exist to serve by. And on the next page are a bunch of examples of actual purpose statements: liberating greatness, awakening worth, inspiring hope. So that what happens is when you look at those areas of life, whether it be vocational, financial, physical, mental, emotional, relational, all these areas of stress that are around there, you begin to say, I'm able to integrate my life with my purpose and bring it into expression into all of those areas. So you no longer are forced, so to speak, to try to balance your life. You're actually integrating your life with your purpose as the point of integration. So it's a very freeing place to be. But again, you got to do the work. It's not hard work, but it is heart work. So, when you look at the next slide, I did a survey of people and I asked them, what is your dollar cost of being off purpose? And it doesn't show here. Again, the slides are being cut off. And what was fascinating, what you can't really see perhaps, is that on the right-hand side,
is there any way, Kevin, for you to change I don't know what you're seeing on your side. Is there any way to change the size of the screen?
I don't know. It's just being cut off for me, so maybe it's not for other people, but for me it is. I'm at full screen, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, on the right-hand side, you'll see that 22% of the people said it was priceless and immeasurable, the off-purpose cost, whenever they really started to look at it. And what's interesting about this survey is whenever I ran that was not an option. I had that many people that wrote in, 22%, the most response we got was it's priceless and immeasurable, the cost of being off purpose in my life. You can see 18% said it's cost me $2 million or more, 6%, $1 million. So what you have is major, major costs in your life to being off purpose. So it affects every single one of those areas we talked about. Therefore, whenever you've got internal stress, not knowing who you are, when the world comes along, it sort of compounds the effect of that. And now you're really struggling to be, you're really under a lot of stress, some of which is self-imposed. So my hope and prayer for you is that, what you're able to do is get free of that by answering those 5 questions. Who am I? And who am I is sort of an umbrella question. Underneath that is, why am I here? Where am I going? How will I get there? And what's important along the way? And if you do that, you're going to be in a much different place where you're able to get the benefits of all of those things I listed. Surveys that we've done on a post basis with people is they get a 42% increase in the well-being of their life just by answering those questions. That's major, folks. So what I would recommend to you is continue to get your weight off, get yourself to a healthier place in your life so that you're able to be healthy. Then look at some of these questions and then continue to, and you're living a longer, healthier life part. This is a way that you can really add on. But right now, do what you're doing. Get yourself healthy physically. Then you can work on the emotional and the mental parts of that.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. And sorry for the slides on the video, the recording, they should be fine. But
Okay.
there was a question that was asked by Angie Martinez, and she says, it's a great question. Is living on purpose the same as living intentionally?
Well, living intentionally is it's very, very similar. It's I happen to have a brand called On Purpose, but intention is part of it. But the idea of a lot of people have good intentions and they're trying to be intentional, but they're not sure what they're being intentional to. So what this does is it clarifies it and says purpose is the first place to start. Why am I here? Then you start to build the rest of it out. So it's as much as anything, it's a methodology of living intentional, which is then called being on purpose.
Got it. So here's a question I have for you, Kevin, is when you, I've heard the term trying to balance, like a work-life balance, and I'm trying to reduce stress by trying to balance work and then life, and trying to get those. And talk a little bit about how your philosophy kind of relates to those two things.
Sure. What I do is I sort of look at it this way. When we're trying to balance something, it's like this. It's two opposing forces, each vying for dominance, perhaps, in the work-life balance world, if you want to look at it that way. What I'm looking at is saying, how do you bring these things together so it's a both and, not an either or? Now, as a result, what you're really doing is you're sitting back strategically and saying, like a lot of people said on the survey today, that they're strategic about what they're doing with their health right now. Now, if you get strategic about your life, of which health is a major part of it, you apply that same sort of principles to it, and you start to say, okay, in these areas of life, what proportion is most important to me? It's like baking a cake. You need to know what the ingredients are. So it's your spiritual life, it's your physical, your vocational, your financial, your relational, so on and so forth. Once you know the ingredients, then you say, well, for me, what ingredients, i.e., how much time do I want to put into each one of these things? And what within there, how do I want to do it? So that what you're doing is you're blending it all together in an integrated fashion, and as opposed to trying to balance things where the idea of it's all being equal. So where balance tends to do this, I tend to think of integration as a target, where purpose is at the center of that target. Around that is your spiritual and your physical well-being, is sort of that mind, body, spirit piece. Then around that are your relationships. Then around that are your work, your finances, your social life, and so on and so forth. So it's a target that's going on rather than two opposites.
Excellent. Thank you. So someone asked, who did the survey?
Who did the survey? The survey of the off dollar? That's one we did. I had 1,200 people that signed up for a webinar, and about 250 people participated in that survey.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. We're actually I knew this was going to go quick, and there went our 30 minutes, right? So thank you so much for sharing. We do have one more survey to share, or poll. So go ahead, Carrie, and share that last one. This is actually going to be in relation to the final next week's challenge. And so we've got next week, same time, we're going to go for 60 minutes. We're going to have a number of people with their stories. It'll be a wide range of things. We're going to celebrate together as we complete the challenge. And actually it'll end on Sunday, and we'll get together on Tuesday and kind of have a little celebration and talk a little bit about the next challenge that's coming up, some of the new features that are going to be offered. One of the things that we talked about was having it, go ahead and share the results from that survey. Oh, look at you guys. Good job. So great. So 89% of people said, yeah, they're going to be there again next week. And so one of the things that we talked about for the next challenge, it'll be the spring challenge. It's going to be focused on, it's more fun, and we're going to have less categories. So there'll be less overall points and more fun, and it'll take less time to get in and get your points. So we wanted to have it be a little bit more nimble and a little bit more, more focused kind of categories. And so anyway, we're working on some of those changes. We're really, if you think about it, you rated us overall at an A-, and we're looking for the A+. And so we're going to make some small tweaks. We want to obviously not go back to a C or a B, so we want to keep on improving and getting better and better and better. So, and yes, every week we'll record these things. Pam asked if we would record it every week. We're going to do that, and then it'll be posted where on the Healthy Games. There's a YouTube channel, Healthy Games YouTube channel, and so I noticed that someone had a question for you, Kevin, about links for your books.
onpurpose.com.
onpurpose.com. All right. So there you heard it right from the author himself. So thank you, Carrie, for being my co-host in your story. And thank you, Kevin, for talking a little bit about living your life on purpose. And as always, we want to thank Aaron and the gang over at Meltdown Challenge for providing us with another amazing challenge. The challenge is not over, by the way. We've still got, till Sunday. So think about this. If you're falling behind on your points, there's some opportunities to get some additional, obviously, points with the 75 points with the, which is a high value point. I think 75 points would be the highest out of any of the points. But think about this. Whether you have enough points to win or lose the challenge, when you get points, you're learning. And that learning is always winning. So I want you guys to focus on just continuing to play out, continuing to build just the rhythm of checking in and doing something that moves you forward in your health each week. And so on behalf of all the gang here, I want to wish you a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday for our special 1 hour meeting. Take care, everybody.
Good night.